Now is the perfect time to buy and sell while your league mates panic. Matt and I have you covered with the perfect names to buy low and sell high on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. Here, you can find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. Here, as always, with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Arne, and you can find him on Twitter at Matthew_Arne. If you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. And if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It subscribes to the channel and gives you notification every time we drop a new episode. And lastly, but most importantly to Matt and I, guys, join us on the Subtext platform. The link to our Subtext is in the bio to wherever you're listening and available on all the social media platforms. On Subtext, it's an in-depth personalized experience. You get text message alerts right to your phone with prospect call-ups, injury alerts, and much more than Matt and I can offer in this 30-minute podcast. And guys, today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. From brakes to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive with all the parts you need at the prices you want. It's easy to bring home that big win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's guaranteed fit only available to U.S. customers. But guys, we are super excited. This time of year is so much fun because there's so much to do in fantasy baseball. But today we are talking buying low and selling high. And Matt, I've already talked too much. Who do we got going first today?
Thank you, sir. So yeah, we got some good names. First name is going to be interesting because it's somebody that you would expect a little bit more out of, and they just had a slow start, and it's time to take advantage of guys that spent high on these players that you weren't sure if they were really worth the draft price. But now it's the time to go and say, hey, I'll take it because I didn't spend a fifth or sixth round pick, and we're going to start off with Nico Hoerner. Nico Hoerner has started off this season like caca doo doo. 17 at bats. He has about 2 runs, and 3 walks to 4 strikeouts. He's batting a nice 118 with an OPS of 465. Like everything is just not looking good for him. But I mean, hey, listen, like I don't foresee this to be like, the reg. I don't think this is and I foresee a bounce back. Hence why we're telling you to, go ahead and throw a bull offer out there, like something bad. Like look at the team, see what they need, and see if you can churn some, like a waiver wire player or somebody that's performing pretty hot, and just see if you can just pick up Nico Hoerner, who's going to turn it around, going to provide you with like 50 stolen bases in a season, and be able to get some runs for you, and bat for a batting average. I mean, I don't see a world where his batting average stays at 118. I think the 280s is 100% real, and I think 40 steals is definitely in the realm of possibilities, along with 98 runs. You get those 3 things out of him, out of you're pretty much a happy boy or girl. So 100% go after Nico Hoerner and offer something really small and see what you can pull off.
Yeah, Matt, great take on Hoerner. I really think that he's kind of really shown who he is in 2022 and 2023. Very similar seasons. Did take a nice step forward in 2023, but, it all made sense with the team being better. Had, about 150 more at bats. So, the runs jumped up, the RBIs and the steals jumped up, and the batting average is very similar. He's been a very good batting average guy for, 90% of his career. We know who Nico Hoerner is. If you can get any type of deal on him at the moment, I know there's a lot of people struggling at second and short. Go out there and make that move now. But Matt, great take on him. I don't really have too much more to add than that. Let's move on to somebody that I got a lot of love for. Another guy that Matt, I love the take on guys that we paid a little bit more than we wanted to, and we weren't sure how good they were going to be. And I think Nolan Jones fits that bill as well. But he's another guy I'm buying low on at the moment. Still gets to play half his games in cores, still very young at 26 years old. Nolan Jones went 2020 last year in 106 games, 367 at bats. I really, really love how good this kid was last year, and I really love how good I think he's going to be this year. Outfield is a position that's very, very thin. So go out there and take advantage right now. Nolan Jones does everything really, really well. He's fast. He hits the ball hard. He swings and misses a little bit too much. But in today's day and age, if you do a lot of other things well, like hit the ball really, really hard when you do make contact, like Nolan Jones does, it really makes up for, the other things that you might not do so well. But Nolan Jones is definitely, definitely somebody I believe in, and I'm still buying low on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now is the perfect time to gobble up all the Nolan Jones shares you couldn't get because you didn't want to pay the price. And now you'll be able to trade for a little bit cheaper. Um, you know, play people the only thing I gotta put out there in premise is people that drafted Nolan Jones or Nolan Jones truthers. So he might be a little bit on the harder side to, get off their hands, especially since he was like a top 60 pick. But you're still not gonna have to give up, a top 60 pick player to go out and get Nolan Jones. Honestly, just look at what the team is missing and then kind of, try and fit yourself in. Like, I mean, second base was a little bit tough as you got deeper into drafts. Shortstop actually went really quick. So if you missed out on guys like I did in one league, things happen. You could try and sneak in one of those extra shortstops that is your worst performer, I guess. There's avenues and ways to go and acquire a guy like Nolan Jones cheaper than what you would have in the draft. But we're gonna move on here. We're gonna
Matt,
talk
real
about
quick, can I hop back in and say one
yeah,
last thing about Nolan Jones? It's the way you sell too, and I know Matt always is very good at this, and he can attest to this. Yeah, Nolan Jones 1 walk to 11 strikeouts, 083, hasn't stolen a bag. It's the way you sell it too. Sometimes it really makes it get that trade done. But Matt, I'm so sorry to jump back in there. Please keep going, brother.
it's all good. It's all good. I'm gonna move on. Actually, we're done talking Nolan Jones. We're gonna talk Evan Carter. Evan Carter has started off the year pretty slow. And surprisingly as well, because he had a nice spring. I didn't think that he was gonna, start this slow, but he is, and this is actually great. You could start digging into things and start telling him like, hey, like, yo, the dude has, not gotten a hit yet. He's walked 6 times, and that's where his production has come out of a ribby and a stolen base, but he's batting literally 0 through 15 at bats. So, like, this is the perfect time to turn around and be like, yo, like, maybe Evan Carter isn't what we thought. Here, I can give you, I don't know, a lower player, in my opinion, this isn't a bad offer either at Dom. I don't think you'll disagree. Like a
See,
Teoscar Hernandez, float that out there.
See that's a tough one for me. I'm biased. You can't ask somebody who has like Teoscar Hernandez like every single league right now.
Right.
I mean, I get it, and especially if you're in like maybe a keeper league type format where Evan Carter could potentially be a keeper player you have next. You're not a dynasty where you keep everybody, but a keeper where maybe you keep 8 of your best players or something like that. I could see making a move like that where Teoscar's a little bit older, Evan Carter's a little bit younger. But that's a tough one for me in like just a redraft kind of league.
I mean, even so, though, I mean, just think of it this way, like, right, like, who has the higher ceiling, right? And where did you pay for Teoscar Hernandez? Teoscar Hernandez isn't your third outfielder. He's your UT,
Yeah.
your first bench player,
Yeah, he's probably third outfielder some leagues. I could see like that, like
like a
the
14,
deeper leagues.
15
Yeah,
man. Okay, but like not a 12-man league. He's definitely not your third outfielder unless you really waited. And to trade up for a guy that was being drafted much higher, where the ceiling is much higher, and the fact that he is actually the most proven rookie in this class right now, being that we got to see the most
yeah.
out of
No,
him,
you're
and he
100% right
performed
there.
all throughout the playoffs. Where like I know that Evan Carter's going to bounce back. So floating out a guy that is performing like Teoscar Hernandez, who isn't on this list for sell high, I think is a sell high because he's going to return to the mean, still be good, but not as good as Evan Carter can be. So I'm willing to make that move, especially with what I paid for him.
Now, I'll actually tell you this real quick. So I pulled up ADP. Evan Carter was actually coming off the board 25th outfielder, pick 101. Teoscar Hernandez moved his butt all the way up to the 27th outfielder, pick 108. So they weren't as far off as you actually think. I'm telling you, my boy
Uh,
Teoscar caught some volume. Maybe it was me preaching about him, but he caught
I
some
think it
volume, man.
was. I think that was. I wouldn't have paid that.
He's killing it so far, though. But before we keep things pushing, and we got we'll move into a couple of pitchers that we actually buying low on. We do have a quick ad for you guys. And guys, once again, we're talking about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's guaranteed fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay's guaranteed fit is only available to you as customers. And guys, are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day and you have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for your everyday to bring you the biggest stories without all of that screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you that can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And then, guys, once again, I want to talk to you guys about the Diamond Club on Subtext. It's so much fun in there. The guys are loving it. We're talking about, baseball. It's here again. There's so much to talk about in there. And you're getting, expert analysis from Matt and I. You're getting text message alerts right to your phone. Once again, prospect call-ups. Like I keep saying, Jackson Holiday right around the corner. You want to get that alert right to your phone first before anybody else. Make sure you're with us on Subtext. Injury alerts, in-depth analysis. You send us over your team. We tell you what you think. You send us over your waiver wire. We'll tell you who you think you should pick up, and just so much more than we can offer in this 30-minute podcast. So make sure you join us on the Diamond Club on Subtext. Link in bio or available on any of our social media platforms. But Matt, as always, that is a lot for me. Please step on in, my brother. And who else are we buying low on? I think we got some pitchers up next.
Yeah, we got Luis Castillo. Luis Castillo has just had a rough start, and I truly do not think this is reality. Yeah, he's a little bit on the older side, but I mean, 31 years old, 32 years old isn't atrociously old. 31 years old. I apologize. He's only pitched 10 innings, and I mean, I can't really say like, hey, he's going to be bad. Like, there's just no realm of possibility. Plus, I mean, you look at his spring, and he was performing great. There's nothing underlining to his velocity's the same. Everything under the sun is just fine. He just happened to give up 2 home runs in his starts, and it just kind of led to bad things. So, like, right now would be a great time to upgrade, right? So, like, a guy I'm willing to move, who I'm super high on, is like a Cole Reagans, right? Cole Reagans is an enticing name that is also performing really well, who also has great upside, but I don't think he'll ever crack the top 10. So what I would do is I'd move Reagans for Castillo. This is in a redraft league only. Reagans for Castillo, who's going to bounce back and provide you top 10 performance. So like that, I feel is like a move that I'd do. And I think honestly, they probably hop all over it at this point because they may be desperate. They drafted him as their number one and it didn't pan out. Okay, Reagan's performing and all that hype that was surrounding him going into the draft season, I feel could get the job done.
Yeah, Matt. See, you know what the thing is as I do agree with you, but it's so I feel like you're picking on me today, man. I don't know what it is. The haterade. If you're watching on YouTube, Matt's got the haterade. He's picking on me, guys. Sound off in the comments. Tell Matt to stop picking on me and making fun of all the guys that I like. But no, in all seriousness, I'm joking. No, it's a great move because Cole Reagans is pitching great. He's actually pitching great today, right now against Baltimore. Right now, 6 innings, 6 strikeouts. Looks like 1 hit. No earned run. So Reagans is off to a hot start. But as Matt mentioned, Castillo has the pedigree. There's actually a starting pitcher we're going to talk about later on, Sell High, that I think is like the perfect swap for Castillo. But Cole Reagans, definitely, Matt, that is a move I would make for Luis Castillo. Buy low while you can because he's going to turn it around. The pedigree's there. He pitches in Seattle too, and that's the best park. Was the best park to pitch in last year for a starting pitcher or for any pitcher at all. So buy low while you can. Let's move on to our last buy low, and that is Michael King, a former New York Yankee. And it's so funny, all of us Yankee fans were complaining about how much we need a Michael King going into the season. And guess what? See, I had to throw the Yankee gear on after yesterday, man. I felt a little bit slighted. Matt had the Yankee gear on, I didn't, but got to rep the team. But so far, Michael King hasn't looked great. 7 innings, 1 win. 11 strikeouts, 6.14 ERA, a 2.18 whip across his first 2 starts. But this guy has the stuff, man, and he really showed it off at the end of last season. I'm going to pull up those last few starts that he made because those were absolutely monstrous. I still think there's so much upside for Michael King. 29 years old, finally getting the chance to start, had the prospect pedigree. And once again, maybe my bias is showing over here tonight, but he is somebody that I really do like, even though he's no longer in the system. So Michael King's last, let's see this real quick. What was it? He started, excuse me, guys. All right, so here we go. It was his last 5 outings. It was basically from September 3rd to October 1st. King had 6 starts, 31 innings, a 2.27 ERA, a 2.62 FIP, 40 strikeouts in those 31 innings. Batters hit 246 against him, and the whip was like a 1.02 whip for Michael King across his last 6 starts of the season with the Yankees last year. So I really think there is, value here. He's got good pitches. The stuff is very good. Buy low on Michael King.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Michael King is somebody I projected to do very well this year, so trying to acquire him, it would be nice, and I don't think you're going to have to pay a premium. So you might
Yes.
be able to get one of the guys we're going to talk about that we pretty much either picked up off waivers as one of your later picks, and just do an easy swap and be happy with it. Let's move on. Let's change pace, right? Let's now go to the other half and sell high. This one that's about to come up, I don't know how high I'm willing to sell him. It would have to be for somebody extremely ridiculous, and that's Shane Bieber. Shane Bieber is actually performing how I thought he was going to be, and he's like your pitcher 3. So the player I'd really be willing to really move on from him, it would have to be like a Luis Castillo is one person I think would be it.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah, I mean, or you know, it would be very hard. Like I'd have to even do like Shane Bieber. If I'm trading him right now, it would have to be obviously Castillo, and I'd be looking for a closer as well or something to go with it because the way Shane Bieber's performing, you could easily hype him up and just be like, "Yo, like, look, Shane Bieber's back. Like he's going to be the player he was 3 years ago, and it's just going to be magic again." So look, you could have him for Castillo, who's old and is getting ready for the retirement home. So here's Shane Bieber, still young and still able to perform at a high level, and give me something else on top of it.
Yeah, man, I'm there with you on Bieber. And then even if you need, like I said, we were talking about earlier, second and short is so thin. If you need, a guy like a Nico Hoerner, go get a Nico Hoerner and maybe like a little bit lower, like a top 25 starting pitcher type of guy. And I think you could be really successful there if somehow you could pull off. And I don't even think this is possible, but I'll throw it out there because there's all different types of leagues, and you could pull off some crazy stuff in some leagues. I think I have Bobby Miller ranked around like 20 coming into the season, maybe 18. If you can go around that range and maybe add like a Nico Hoerner and get like a little frisky and do something like that, I would definitely do it. I have Bieber, maybe he moves into like my top 25 rest of the way. So like I said, if you can get in that range, a top 25 pitcher, maybe something else for a Shane Bieber. Like Matt said, this guy was had a dominant season in 2020, 1.63 ERA. He's just not. He's going to be good, just not this good. We don't dislike Shane Bieber. We love him. We think he's going to be fantastic, but just not this good. So you capitalize while the value's high. Then before we move into a first-year starting pitcher who had a monster start. Actually, two first-year starting. Oh no, one first-year starting pitcher who had a monster start. One first-year starter who had a couple monster starts, and a couple of young bats that are looking really good to start the season. We do have a quick ad for you guys.
And guys, we're talking Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks. You pick more or less than 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Exploring my skills on Prize Picks this season adds an extra layer of excitement to daily fantasy sports. With just a few taps, you can transform $10 into $1,000 easily. Prize Picks is incredibly user-friendly. You can make a selection and submit your entry in less than 60 seconds. And as the host of Locked On Fantasy Baseball, I actually have some good picks for you. Opt for Jesus Luzardo to have higher than 1.5 walks in his next start. Opt for Zach Geloff to have higher than 0.5 ribbies in his next start. And opt for Julio Rodriguez to have higher than 0.5 runs in his next game. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It is that easy with Prize Picks. And all right, Dom, go ahead and tease this nice little picture.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk about this guy because I did tease it pretty good before. First year starting pitcher, and you might not know which way I'm going with this one, but I'm talking Shoto Imanaga here. The thing with Imanaga is you might just look at those numbers and be like, wow, he had an absolutely dominant start, no runs, 9 Ks, 6 innings, only gave up a couple of knocks. And you're just like, damn, if you missed out on him, you probably were feeling kind of bad. First of all, it was against the Rockies, and it was in Chicago. So it's not a great lineup, first of all. Second of all, you dive a little deeper into the start and you kind of say, I think you got a little lucky. He actually gave up no ground balls in this start. Everything was hit in the air against him. So that's really, really bad to begin with if you want to limit, home runs and all that stuff. So that's a really, really bad start. Then he had, I think it was about 3 or 4 balls that were hit about 350 feet or further. That's another bad thing. I don't like the hitting them to the wall against him. So, while the iron's hot, you strike. He had a really, really big start. I'm not fully buying in. I still think maybe he has like top 50 starting pitcher upside, but he's not Yamamoto. Maybe you can try and sell it that way. The comp that I originally had was last year. You had Kodai Senga, and then you had Shintaro Fujinami. I bet half of you saying, who's Shintaro Fujinami? And that's exactly my point. Now, do I think Imanaga is that bad? Absolutely not. But I just don't think he's going to be this good for the rest of the way. So sell high while you can.
Yeah, and I like Imanaga's upside, and I like the landing spot too. I just I think he's gonna be very successful for the first month. The league is gonna figure him out, and then the jury's out on whether he's gonna be able to, adjust. So that's gonna be the biggest thing for Imanaga. And I'd rather be on the end of having anybody else that's obviously a way higher tier than Imanaga and somebody that's a little bit more solidified in their position. So like Imanaga is somebody that I definitely want to move now and rather risk and get somebody a little bit more of a sure thing, especially as we head into deeper into the season. Imanaga is a perfect sell high right now. But all right, let's talk about this next guy here. It's Garrett Crochet.
Crochet.
Oh, like I'm doing crochet. Got it.
Yes, sir.
Garrett Crochet. He had a nice outing or two. Let me pull up his stuff real quick because I am not prepared today. But yeah,
I got it if you want it.
Thank you, because I'm losing it right now.
Two starts here for Garrett Crochet, 1.38 ERA, 13 innings, 16 strikeouts, 1 walk, and 0.69 whip with a 2.14 FIP.
Yeah. So, I mean, he looked good. And who did he pitch against, if you don't mind me asking, since I don't have his stuff
yes,
up?
sir. Just bear with me 1 second as I move over the other way and grab that one for you. His first 2 outings. So the first time out was Detroit, and you're like, okay, it's Detroit. We're not so impressed. Second outing, Atlanta Braves.
Yeah. So, like, that's the thing, right? So, like, those are the first 2 things to say, hey, look, there's an indicator who's going to be good. This waiver wire pickup that I'm going to float this bag of dog poo and put a couple sprinkles on top of glitter. I'm not saying he's bad either. Actually, I like the kid. I'd much rather, same thing with Imanaga. I'd rather sell him for somebody that's a little bit more consistent. I know what I'm going to get from them versus the unknown of after they figure him out, after the tape's out, and after batters start figuring out what he is actually good at, where the movement is, and things like that, that they could kind of anticipate his pitches. And I'd much rather be on the other side of guys that have been doing it for a couple of years. So, you find somebody that's not performing great and you go, okay, cool. I want that one. And I'm going to hand you that one. And there you go. And you have fun with that issue. But anyway, we got this. Dom, you're up because I'm done talking on this.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so with Crochet, it is interesting because I actually do really like the profile. He's got the strong fastball. The secondary stuff is pretty solid too. He's got a decent little pitch mix there. Those three pitches most of the time. And he's young. He's 25, so this could be a legitimate breakout. But the whole thing is if you could still capitalize for a top 20 starting pitcher, you do it. You make the move where you take the known versus the unknown. Now, I think this guy could be, Garrett Crochet could be a 3.5 ERA with, over a K per nine and a decent whip. But if you could still go out and get you like a Logan Webb is somebody who's been off to a really bad start. You might not be able to do that straight up, but if you Garrett Crochet and a closer or something like that, you might be able to get that deal done at the moment. Like I said, there's so many different kinds of fantasy leagues with different fantasy players out there. You could definitely capitalize. Just know your league mates. And if you don't know your league mates, just throw some offers out there. See who's willing to go back and forth. But I think we can capitalize on Garrett Crochet's value right now, even though I do think he'll be pretty good the rest of the way. Let's keep things going here. Let's move on to a Yankee, somebody who I was a little too early on. It's Oswaldo Cabrera, somebody who I loved coming off of his rookie season, was very good for the Yanks. And then, last year, had the sophomore slump and, didn't really perform as well as we would have liked him to. But Mr. Oswaldo Cabrera is off to a scorching, sizzling start for us. 6 games so far, 22 at-bats, 4 runs, 9 hits, 1 double, 2 homers, 7 RBIs, no steals, but a 409 batting average with 2 walks to 6 strikeouts. And the cool thing is, if you play on Yahoo, Oswaldo Cabrera is the definition of a Swiss Army knife on there with second, third, short, and outfield eligibility. You gotta love it. Cabrera is he's all the way up to 71% owned. So, you probably, a lot of the guys that I'm talking to here, a lot of our fans or listeners, probably have him on their team. You can go out there and you package him. You do the Shoto Imanaga and Cabrera for the Luis Castillo to get that deal done. And you capitalize, you get the Nico Hoerners and the Joneses and the Carters and all these guys we were talking about. I just really think, I don't think Cabrera is going to be this good all season long. Him and John Birdie probably going to go back and forth with playing time. And then when DJ LeMahieu comes back, who's the odd man out? So capitalize while you can on the value.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dom, honestly, great take, honestly.
Thank you, sir.
I don't have much to add other than sell high because the hype is real behind Cabrera across all of, not just fantasy baseball, but just baseball in general. So, I'd love to capitalize on the name while the iron's still hot. Let's get this last guy in before we end here, and that's Bryce Terang. Bryce Terang, is somebody that is interesting. He was coming off the injury last year, didn't get to play a full season, but when he was healthy last year, he didn't even live up to my expectations in terms of power or things like that, but was able to steal bases and whatnot, but batted 218. This year, he's coming in hot. Still hasn't hit a home run, but has 6 stolen bases, batting 500, and has 2 runs and 2 doubles. And quite honestly, is looking pretty decent right now and actually really good. We could definitely go ahead and trade him and package 2 of these guys and see what you can snag. I don't know how much people are going to be willing to give up for Terang because he's still kind of an unknown player, but hey, you never know. I mean, people get injured and lose players and they're willing to accept some things and get up, but like, hey, even if I could trade up and try and acquire like a Michael King, for instance, I don't think that's such a bad offer.
That's perfect, actually, man. Perfect.
Yeah, like, I mean, hey, I could upgrade my pitching and get rid of my waiver wire pickup essentially. And hey, we both kind of get a shot at things. So yeah.
Yeah, with Terang, he had not like a crazy amount of prospect pedigree, but a little bit. Like people were talking about him. If you play fantasy baseball and you're, kind of really in the mix, you might have heard the name Bryce Terang before. He's super fast, not really doesn't have a lot of power, kind of profiles as maybe like a low end Nico Hoerner type if everything pans out. But 6 steals on the season for Bryce Terang. So, people want to see that big steals number and he's 7 for 14. You really love it. I think we can capitalize, on the Terangs. Put him and Garrett Crochet together, get you the Luis Castillo or make a Nico Hoerner type deal or something something like that. But guys, that is all for us today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Shout out to our everydayers and listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. But guys, until tomorrow, see ya.
Peace.